I'm the Midnight Echoes, and tonight I have something for you. But before we begin, do me a favor, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and let's begin. Settle in wherever you are. Maybe it's late. Maybe you're just looking for a story to keep you company as you drift off. I want you to get comfortable. Close your eyes if you want, and let my voice carry you somewhere dark, somewhere quiet, somewhere just a little bit haunted. Imagine this. The night is deep. The world outside is silent, except for the soft hum of a ceiling fan spinning overhead. You're lying in bed, the blankets pulled up, the familiar shape of your partner sleeping beside you. Everything should be peaceful, but then her voice slices through the quiet, desperate and small. Please don't touch me. You jolt awake, heart pounding, eyes wide in the darkness. You listen. Her breathing is uneven, her face twisted in distress even as she sleeps. The room is still, but then you notice something strange. The blankets at the foot of the bed are moving, rising slowly, as if someone is gently tugging them upward. But there's no one there. The movement is too precise, too intentional to blame on the fan or a stray draft. You freeze, every muscle tense, as a depression forms in the mattress at the end of the bed, as if an invisible weight has settled there. The whole bed shifts, just a little. "No, stay back," she mumbles, still asleep, her fingers clutching the sheets. You want to wake her, to shake her out of this nightmare, but your body refuses to move. Your throat tightens, the air feels thick, and the pressure at the foot of the bed grows heavier, deeper, as if whatever is there is settling in, making itself comfortable. A car passes outside, headlights sweeping across the room, and for a split second you see something, a shadow darker than the darkness itself, right where the depression is. But as the light fades, there's nothing, just the blankets, still pulled up in that strange, unnatural way. Your hands tremble as you reach for the lamp, desperate to see, to break the spell. But before you can flick the switch, your partner's body goes rigid. "Get out," she says, her voice suddenly cold, angry, nothing like before. "This isn't your place. You need to leave." The depression in the mattress vanishes. The blankets settle, but the air in the room drops so quickly you can see your breath, a cloud of mist in front of your face. She wakes with a gasp, eyes wide, searching your face for answers. You tell her what happened, and you watch as confusion gives way to fear. She remembers pieces of her dream. She says she saw her grandmother, but not the loving woman she once knew. This version was twisted, insistent, trying to climb into bed with you both. You don't sleep for the rest of the night. You sit up together, all the lights on, drinking coffee, trying to convince yourselves it was just a dream. But you both know better. Something was in the room with you. The next few nights are too quiet, as if the house itself is holding its breath. She starts taking sleeping pills to keep the dreams at bay, but you can tell they're not working. She twitches, mutters, her face drawn tight even in sleep. You set up a motion-activated camera at the foot of the bed, desperate for proof, for understanding. The first 2 nights, nothing. But on the third, at exactly 3:47 a.m., the camera's infrared light clicks on. The footage shows the blankets moving, rising and falling, like someone is breathing underneath them. The temperature reading in the corner drops from 72 to 45 degrees in less than a minute. You don't show her the footage. She's barely sleeping as it is. Instead, you start researching sleep paralysis, shared dreams, supernatural encounters. Most of what you find is useless, stories from people trying to explain away their fear. But then you find an account from a woman in Oregon, almost identical to yours. It started after her mother died. A presence would sit on her bed every night at the same time. It never hurt her, but it seemed to be waiting for something. She finally got rid of it by having her house blessed. You're not religious, but desperation makes you try. You call around until you find an elderly priest willing to listen. Father Martinez comes to your house, moving from room to room, sprinkling holy water, murmuring prayers in Latin. When he reaches your bedroom, he stops at the foot of the bed. His hands tremble as he makes the sign of the cross. "There's something here," he whispers. "Something old, not evil, just lost." Sometimes spirits get confused, especially if they had a strong connection to a place or a person in life. That night, the dreams come again, but this time, her voice is calm, gentle. "It's okay," she says in her sleep. "I understand now. You can go home." The temperature drops, but not as sharply. You feel a breeze, like someone walking quickly past you, and then she sighs, rolls over, peaceful for the first time in weeks. You never feel the presence again after that night. The next morning, she remembers more. Her real grandmother came to her in the dream, explaining that the spirit wasn't trying to harm you. It was a woman who had lived in your house decades ago, confused and lost, wandering into the wrong room even in death. Her grandmother helped her remember who she was and guided her away. You still have the video from that last night. If you watch carefully, you can see two sets of footprints form in the carpet, one shuffling and hesitant, the other steady, leading the first toward the door. You keep the house, but rearrange the bedroom, paint the walls, not to keep spirits away, but to make the space your own. Sometimes, on quiet nights, you think about that lost spirit and feel grateful for the help you received. It would be easy to tell this as a ghost story, to focus on the fear, the uncertainty. But in the end, it's about compassion, about helping a lost soul find its way home. She doesn't have nightmares anymore. She sleeps soundly, and the foot of the bed stays undisturbed. But every now and then, when you wake at 3:47 a.m., you whisper a thank you to both grandmothers, the one who helped and the one who needed help. Then you roll over, close your eyes, and let yourself drift back to sleep, knowing the room belongs to you alone. You still live in that house. The motion sensor camera is still running, but it hasn't picked up anything unusual in months. The temperature stays steady. The only movements in the bedroom are the normal ones: cats walking, shadows from passing cars, the gentle rise and fall of blankets as you breathe. Life has returned to normal, or as normal as it can be after something like that. You don't talk about it much, but you haven't forgotten. Some experiences change you, even if the change is subtle. You still wake up sometimes in the middle of the night, heart racing from half-remembered dreams. But now, instead of fear, You feel a strange sense of peace. The foot of the bed is just the foot of the bed. No depressions, no mysterious movements. She dreams of her grandmother sometimes, but they're good dreams now. Sunlit kitchens, tea, quiet conversations. When she wakes, she smiles and squeezes your hand. You've learned to live with the memory of those strange nights. You've made peace with the idea that there are things in this world you can't fully understand, but you're not looking for answers anymore. Sometimes it's enough just to know that even in the darkest moments, there's a way back to the light. The camera's red light still blinks in the corner, a reminder to stay open to the inexplicable. Your bedroom is different now, your own space, filled with your own memories. The old spirit's confusion is gone, replaced by the comfortable familiarity of your life together. And if, sometimes, late at night, you think you hear footsteps in the hallway or feel a slight chill, you don't panic. You listen to her steady breathing, watch the moonlight on the walls, and remember that every story, even the strangest ones, eventually finds its end. Your ghost story ended not with terror, but with understanding and peace. The digital clock glows in the darkness, marking the hours as they pass. But 3:47 a.m. is just another time now, no more significant than any other, and that, perhaps, is the greatest peace of all, knowing that even the most haunting moments can fade into memory, leaving you changed, but not broken. Life goes on. You wake up each morning, make coffee, go to work, and sleep in your bed without fear. The only presence in your room now is your own, and that's exactly how it should be. Sometimes, late at night, when you can't sleep, you think about writing down this story. But then you realize some experiences don't need to be preserved in words. They live on in the quiet moments, in peaceful nights, in the understanding that sometimes the scariest things aren't scary at all. They're just as lost, looking for their way home. And so your life continues, not marked by those strange events, but by the ordinary moments that make up your days. You've found your peace, and that peace is stronger than any fear you felt during those dark nights. The foot of your bed is just the foot of your bed now, and that's enough. But let's step back. Let's breathe together for a moment and let the tension settle, because sometimes the most chilling stories aren't just about what happens in the dark, but about what lingers after, in the quiet spaces of our minds. You see, stories like this one, they don't always end with a bang or a scream. Sometimes they fade out softly, like a song you can't quite remember, but can't seem to forget. The fear, the uncertainty, it doesn't vanish all at once. It trickles away, leaving behind a kind of hush, a gentle reminder that the world is bigger and stranger than we want to believe. So let's talk about fear, not the kind that makes you leap out of bed or run for the door, but the kind that seeps in slowly, that wraps itself around you in the middle of the night. It's the fear of the unknown, the fear of what you can't see, can't explain, the fear that maybe, just maybe, there's something out there, watching, waiting, just beyond the edge of the light. You know that feeling, don't you? When the house is too quiet, when the shadows in the corners seem to move just a little too much, when you hear a creak in the hallway, or the soft click of a door that should be closed. Your mind races, filling in the blanks with things you hope aren't real. But here's the thing. Fear is natural. It's ancient. It's what kept our ancestors alive, huddled around fires, listening for the snap of a twig in the dark. It's what makes us human. And yet, in stories like this, fear is also a teacher. It shows us where our boundaries are. It asks us to look a little closer, to question what we think we know. Let's go back to that bedroom, just for a moment. The blankets, the cold, the weight at the foot of the bed, the way your partner's voice changed, the way the air seemed to thicken, pressing down on you until you could barely breathe. It's not just a ghost story. It's a story about vulnerability, about being exposed and powerless in your own home. And yet, in the end, it wasn't violence or rage that resolved things. It was compassion. It was understanding. The lost spirit didn't want to hurt anyone. It just wanted to be seen, to be remembered, to find its way back to something familiar. Maybe that's what all ghosts want in the end. Maybe that's what we all want. So, as you listen, as you let your mind wander through the shadows of this story, ask yourself, what are you afraid of? What keeps you awake at night? Is it the thought of something lurking in the darkness, or is it something closer to home, a memory, a regret, a longing for someone you've lost? Because sometimes the real hauntings aren't the ones that leave footprints in the carpet or depressions in the mattress. Sometimes they're the ones that live inside us, the ones we carry with us every day, the ones we try to forget but never really can. And yet, even those hauntings can be gentle. They can teach us to cherish what we have, to hold our loved ones a little closer, to say the things we're afraid to say. They can remind us that life is fragile, that every moment is precious, that we're all just passing through, trying to make sense of the world. So, as you drift off tonight, as you let the rhythm of your breathing slow and the warmth of your bed wrap around you, remember this. The scariest stories are often the ones that end with peace. The ones where the monsters aren't monsters at all, but lost souls looking for home. The ones where fear gives way to understanding and darkness to light. And if you wake in the middle of the night, heart pounding, eyes wide, remember, you're not alone. We all have our ghosts. We all have our stories. And sometimes, the best thing we can do is listen and let them go. Now, let's take another breath. Let's let the fear melt away, replaced by a quiet curiosity. What else is out there in the spaces we can't see? What stories are waiting to be told just beneath the surface of our everyday lives? Because every house has its secrets. Every family has its legends. Every person has a story they're afraid to tell. And sometimes those stories come out in the quiet hours when the world is asleep and the only sound is the beating of your own heart. Maybe you've felt it, the sense that you're not alone, even when you know you are. The feeling that someone is watching, waiting, hoping for a chance to be heard. Maybe you've brushed it off, blamed it on the wind, the pipes, the old house settling. But deep down, you know there's more to it than that. And that's okay. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to wonder. It's okay to let yourself believe, just for a moment, that the world is stranger and more magical than you ever imagined. So tonight, as you listen to this story, let yourself feel the fear. Let it wash over you, then let it go. Let yourself drift, weightless, into the unknown, because sometimes the scariest things are also the most beautiful. Sometimes the darkness hides not monsters, but memories, soft, sad, and waiting to be set free. And as you close your eyes, as you surrender to sleep, remember, you are safe. The foot of your bed is just the foot of your bed. The shadows are just shadows, and the only thing waiting for you in the darkness is the promise of another day. Sleep well, dream deeply, and remember, every story has an ending, but not every ending is the end. But what if the story didn't end there? What if, even after peace returned to your home, you found yourself haunted, not by a ghost, but by the memory of what you'd seen, what you'd felt? Because sometimes the most persistent hauntings are the ones that live inside us, quietly echoing in the spaces between our thoughts. Imagine weeks pass and life settles into its old, familiar rhythm. The days are bright, filled with laughter and the ordinary routines that make up a life. You start to believe it was all just a bad dream, a trick of the mind, a story you'll tell one day with a nervous laugh and a shake of the head. But then, one night, as you're drifting off, you hear it, the softest whisper, like a sigh carried on the wind. You open your eyes, heart thumping, and stare into the darkness. Nothing moves, the room is still, but the feeling is back, just for a moment. A chill at the base of your spine, a sense that you're not alone. You tell yourself it's nothing. You tell yourself you're safe. But the memory lingers, curling around your thoughts like smoke. You start to notice little things. The way the air feels colder near the foot of the bed, even with the windows closed. The way your partner sometimes shivers in her sleep, pulling the blankets tighter around her, murmuring words you can't quite understand. The way the house creaks at night, as if settling into itself, or as if something is moving quietly from room to room. You try to ignore it. You focus on work, on friends, on the thousand small distractions that make up a day. But at night, when the world is quiet and the only sound is your own breathing, the memories come creeping back. You remember the depression in the mattress, the cold, the way the blankets moved as if pulled by invisible hands. You remember the look on your partner's face when she woke, the fear in her eyes, the way she clung to you as if you were the only thing keeping her anchored to this world. And you wonder, did you really help that lost spirit find its way home? Or did you just send it somewhere else, somewhere deeper, somewhere harder to reach? It's a strange kind of fear, this lingering unease. It's not sharp or sudden, like a jump scare in a movie. It's slow, persistent, like water wearing away stone. It makes you question yourself, your memories, your own mind. You start to keep a journal, writing down every strange thing you notice, every dream, every chill, every unexplained sound. You tell yourself it's just for your own peace of mind, a way to prove to yourself that nothing is really happening. But as the pages fill up, you start to see patterns, small, subtle, but impossible to ignore. Every few nights at exactly 3:47 a.m., you wake up. Sometimes you remember a dream, always the same house, always the same room, always the same feeling of being watched. Sometimes you wake for no reason at all, heart racing, skin prickling with goosebumps. You try to talk to your partner about it, but she brushes it off. She says she hasn't had any nightmares, that she's sleeping better than ever. But you notice the way she avoids looking at the foot of the bed, the way she turns on the light before getting up in the middle of the night, the way she flinches at sudden noises. You start to wonder if maybe you're the only one who's haunted now. Maybe the spirit left her alone, but found a new home in your mind. The fear grows, quietly, patiently. It slips into your dreams, your thoughts, your everyday life. You find yourself checking the camera footage again, even though you know there's nothing there. You find yourself listening for footsteps in the hallway, for whispers in the dark. You start to dread the nights, the long hours between midnight and dawn, when the world feels thin and anything seems possible. You start to dread 3:47 a.m., the moment when the past and the present seem to blur, when the boundaries between worlds feel paper thin. But you keep going, you keep living, keep loving, keep moving forward, because that's what we do, isn't it? We carry our fears with us, tucked away in the corners of our minds, and we keep going. You remind yourself that you're safe, that the worst is over, that the foot of the bed is just the foot of the bed. You remind yourself that the spirit is gone, that the house is yours, that the past can't hurt you anymore. But some nights, when the wind is high and the shadows are long, you wonder, what if the story isn't over? What if the haunting never really ends? What if, in the quiet hours before dawn, we're all just a little bit haunted by memories, by fears, by the things we can't quite explain? So you breathe, slow and deep, letting the fear wash over you, and then it will slip away. You close your eyes, listening to the sound of your own heartbeat, and remind yourself that you are here, now, safe and warm. And as you drift off to sleep, you whisper a silent promise to yourself, to the spirit, to anyone who might be listening. I will remember. I will not forget. I will carry your story with me, and I will not let fear win. Because in the end, that's all any of us can do. We face the darkness, we tell our stories, and we find our way back to the light, one night at a time. Let's slow everything down now. Let the world outside slip away. Let the hush of midnight settle over you like a soft, heavy blanket. You're here, in this moment, listening. Let your breath deepen. Let your muscles relax. Let the gentle rhythm of this story cradle you closer to sleep. Because the truth is, most hauntings aren't about the ghosts at all. They're about the people who remain, their fears, their hopes, the way they make sense of the things that can't be explained. You might be surprised how many people have stories like yours, whispered late at night, shared in hushed voices over steaming mugs of tea. A friend confesses that she hears footsteps in her attic, always at the same hour, always when she's alone. A neighbor swears the old oak tree in his yard is haunted by the laughter of children who lived there long before. A stranger online describes waking every night at exactly 3:47 a.m., heart pounding, convinced someone is standing at the foot of her bed. You read these stories, listen to these voices, and realize you are not alone. Your fear is not unique. There is a whole world of people lying awake at night, wondering if the darkness is just darkness or something more. And yet, there's comfort in that, isn't there? a strange, unexpected peace in knowing that your fears are shared, that your story is part of a much larger tapestry. We are all haunted in our own ways by things we can't see and memories we can't shake. So let's linger here in this quiet space between waking and sleep and let the story unfold a little more. You start to wonder if the house itself remembers, if the walls hold echoes of every voice that's ever whispered in the dark, every footstep that's ever creaked across the floor, if the air is thick with stories waiting to be told. Sometimes, when you're alone in the early hours, you walk the halls in silence, feeling the weight of the past pressing gently against your skin. You run your fingers along the banister, tracing the grooves worn smooth by generations of hands. You pause at the window, watching the moonlight spill across the yard, and imagine all the lives that have played out here. Laughter, tears, whispered secrets, silent prayers. It's easy to feel small in moments like this, to feel like just another shadow passing through. But there's beauty in that too, in knowing that you're part of something bigger, something ancient and mysterious. You think about the spirit that visited you, about the way it lingered at the foot of your bed, searching for something it couldn't name. You wonder if it found what it was looking for, if it finally found peace. You hope so. You hope that, wherever it is, it knows it was seen, that its story mattered, and you realize maybe that's all any of us want, to be seen, to be remembered, to know that our stories, our fears, our hopes are not lost to the darkness. So you light a candle, not out of fear, but out of gratitude. You let its soft glow fill the room, chasing away the shadows, warming the air. You sit quietly, listening to the silence, and feel a gentle sense of closure settle over you. The house feels different now, lighter, somehow, as if a weight has been lifted. The air is warmer, the shadows softer, the silence less oppressive. You sleep more easily, waking refreshed, the old fears fading into memory. But you never forget. You keep the camera, just in case. You keep the journal, filling its pages with dreams and stories and small, everyday miracles. And sometimes, when the world is quiet and the moon is high, you find yourself whispering into the darkness. Thank you. Thank you for the lesson, for the fear, for the reminder that life is fragile and mysterious and precious. You don't know if anyone is listening, but that's okay. Sometimes the act of speaking is enough. You close your eyes, letting the candlelight flicker behind your eyelids and drift into sleep. Your dreams are gentle now, filled with light, with laughter, with the quiet certainty that you are safe, that you are loved, that you are not alone. And as you sleep, the house sleeps with you, settling, breathing, holding your story close. Somewhere, far away, a spirit finds its way home. Somewhere, a new story begins. And here, in this room, in this moment, you rest, at peace, unafraid, ready to face whatever comes next. Let the darkness hold you. Let the silence soothe you. Let the story carry you gently into the arms of sleep. There's a strange comfort in the rhythm of the night, in the way the world quiets down, in the way your own breathing seems to echo in the stillness. It's in these moments, when the clock ticks softly, when the shadows stretch long across the walls, that your mind drifts back to the story, to what it means to be haunted, to what it means to find peace. Sometimes you wonder if you'll ever truly let go of what happened. If the memory of that cold spot at the foot of your bed, the weight of unseen eyes, the sound of your partner's voice, changed, distant, pleading, will ever fade completely. But then you realize maybe you don't have to let go. Maybe the story, the fear, the wonder, it's all part of you now. A scar, yes, but also a reminder. A reminder that the world is deeper, stranger, and more beautiful than you can ever really know. You start to notice the little things more. The way sunlight spills through the window in the morning, the way your partner laughs when she's half asleep, the way the house creaks and sighs as it settles into the night. All of it feels precious now, fragile, fleeting. You find yourself wanting to hold on to these moments, to savor them, to let them fill the spaces that fear once occupied. You realize that every ordinary day is a kind of miracle, that every quiet night is a gift. And yet, there are still nights when the old fear returns, not as a shadow at the foot of the bed, but as a whisper in your mind. A question: what if it comes back? What if the peace you've found is only temporary, a lull before the next haunting? You lie awake, listening to the silence, feeling the weight of that question pressing down on you. But then you remember, you are not powerless. You are not alone. You remember the way you faced the darkness, the way you reached out for help, the way you found compassion even in fear. You remember the priest's trembling hands, the gentle words, the sense that even the lost can be found. You remember your partner's strength, the way she faced her nightmares, the way she let go of what was haunting her. You remember the way you both survived, together. And slowly, the fear ebbs away, replaced by something softer, something warmer. You realize that the real power of a haunting isn't in the terror it brings. It's in the way it changes you, the way it opens your eyes to the fragility of life, the way it teaches you to cherish what you have. You think about all the stories you've heard, all the people who have shared their own hauntings, their own brushes with the unknown. You realize that every story, no matter how frightening, is really about hope, about finding light in the darkness, about reaching out for connection, about believing that even the most lost spirits can find their way home. So you start to tell your story, not just to yourself, but to others. You share it in quiet conversations, in late-night messages, in the gentle hush of the early morning. And you find that, as you share, the fear fades. It loses its power. It becomes just another story, one among many, a thread in the great tapestry of human experience. You realize that you are part of something vast and ancient, a world filled with mysteries, with wonders, with stories waiting to be told. And as you drift off to sleep, the story settles around you like a blanket, soft and warm, carrying you into dreams. You dream of light, of laughter, of a house filled with peace. You dream of the spirit, no longer lost, no longer afraid, finding its way home at last. And when you wake, the world feels new. The fear is gone, replaced by gratitude, by wonder, by the quiet certainty that you are exactly where you're meant to be. You rise, stretch, greet the morning with a smile. The story is still with you, but it's changed. no longer a source of fear, but a reminder of your own strength, your own resilience, your own capacity for compassion. You carry it with you, not as a burden, but as a gift. And you know, deep down, that whatever comes next, you are ready, because you have faced the darkness, and you have found your way back to the light. So sleep now, rest easy, let the story fade into the gentle rhythm of your breath. The night is quiet, the house is safe, and you are home. Let's let the silence deepen for a moment. Let it settle in your bones, soft and heavy, like the hush that falls after a storm. This is the space where stories linger, where fears dissolve, where dreams begin to bloom. You lie there, listening to the gentle tick of the clock, the distant hum of the world outside, the slow, steady rhythm of your own heart. And as you listen, you realize the house feels different now. The air is lighter, the shadows are softer, the night is no longer a thing to be feared. You remember the first time you felt that chill at the foot of your bed, the way your breath caught in your throat, the way your mind raced with questions and doubts. You remember the helplessness, the sense that something was happening just beyond your understanding, something you could not control. But now, as you lie in the quiet darkness, you feel a new kind of strength growing inside you. It's the strength that comes from facing what scares you, from refusing to run away, from standing your ground even when your hands are shaking. You think about all the nights you spent awake, watching the shadows, listening for footsteps, waiting for something to happen. You think about the fear that kept you company, the fear that became a part of you, the fear that, in the end, taught you how to be brave. Because that's the secret, isn't it? The things that haunt us, they're not always there to hurt us. Sometimes they're there to teach us, to help us grow, to show us what we're made of. You remember the night the priest came, the way he moved through your home, the way he spoke softly, his words a balm against the darkness. You remember the prayers, the holy water, the sense of something shifting, something letting go. And you remember the peace that followed, the way your partner slept soundly for the first time in weeks, the way the room felt warmer, safer, yours again. You realize that you've changed, that the haunting has left its mark, not as a scar, but as a lesson. You are stronger now, more compassionate, more open to the mysteries of the world. You start to see the beauty in the unknown, the wonder in the things you cannot explain. You find yourself looking for magic in the everyday, in the way the sunlight dances on the walls, in the way the wind whispers through the trees, in the way your partner smiles at you across the table. You realize that life is full of hauntings, not just by ghosts, but by memories, by dreams, by the stories we carry with us. And you learn to welcome them, to listen to what they have to say, to let them shape you in gentle ways. You find yourself reaching out to others, sharing your story, listening to theirs. You discover that everyone has a haunting, a secret fear, a memory that lingers in the dark. And you realize that together, you are stronger. Together, you can face the darkness and find your way back to the light. So tonight, as you lie in the quiet, let the story settle around you like a soft embrace. Let the fear melt away, replaced by gratitude, by wonder, by the knowledge that you are not alone. The foot of your bed is just the foot of your bed. The shadows are just shadows. And the night is full of possibilities. Let yourself drift. Let yourself dream. Let yourself believe in the magic of the world, because you have faced the darkness and you have found your way home. You are safe. You are loved. You are exactly where you are meant to be. Sleep now and let the story carry you into the gentle arms of morning. The night stretches on, velvet and endless, holding you in its gentle, mysterious embrace. You feel the weight of the story, not as a burden, but as a kind of comfort, a reminder that you've survived, that you've grown, that you've learned to find beauty even in fear. You remember how it all began, the first uneasy nights, the strange chill in the room, the way your partner's dreams spilled into waking life. You remember the helplessness, the confusion, the desperate search for answers in the quiet hours before dawn. But now, those memories are softer, rounded at the edges, like stones worn smooth by the tide. They no longer sting, they simply exist, part of the landscape of your life. You lie awake sometimes, listening to the house breathe, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your partner's chest beside you. You marvel at how ordinary everything seems now, how the extraordinary has faded back into the background, leaving only the smallest traces behind. You think about the camera, still perched at the foot of the bed, its red light blinking quietly in the darkness. You haven't checked the footage in weeks. You no longer feel the urge to seek out proof, to chase shadows, to demand explanations from the unknown. Instead, you've learned to trust yourself, to trust your own experience, your own strength, your own ability to face whatever comes. You've learned that not every question needs an answer, that some mysteries are meant to be lived with, not solved. You find yourself drawn to the quiet moments, the hush before sleep, the soft glow of dawn, the peaceful hours when the world feels suspended in time. You savor these moments, holding them close, letting them fill you with a sense of calm and contentment. You realize that the haunting, for all its fear and uncertainty, has given you a gift, the ability to be present, to appreciate the here and now, to find peace in the ordinary. You watch your partner as she sleeps, her face relaxed, her breathing deep and even. You remember the nights when she tossed and turned, caught in the grip of nightmares, her voice pleading with unseen forces. Now, she sleeps soundly, her dreams untroubled, her spirit at ease. You feel a deep sense of gratitude for her, for the peace you've found together, for the way you've both come through the darkness. You know that life will bring new challenges, new fears, new mysteries to unravel. But you also know that you are ready, that you have the strength to face whatever comes. You have learned to welcome the unknown, to greet it with curiosity instead of dread, to see it as an invitation to grow, to change, to become more fully yourself. The night is quiet, the house is still, and you are at peace. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle pull of sleep, the soft warmth of the blankets, the steady presence of the one you love. You let go of the story, just for a little while, trusting that it will be there when you need it, a gentle reminder of all you've overcome. And as you drift off, you carry with you the knowledge that you are safe, that you are loved, that you are never truly alone. The darkness holds no fear for you now, only the promise of rest, of renewal, of another day. Sleep well and let the story carry you softly into the dawn. And as the hours slip by, the world outside your window grows even quieter. The darkness deepens, and the gentle pulse of night surrounds you like a lullaby. You find yourself thinking about how fear changes shape, how it can be sharp one moment, soft the next, how sometimes it's a shadow at the foot of your bed, and sometimes it's just a memory, fading with the dawn. You remember the first time you talked about what happened, how your voice trembled, how the words felt heavy, how you worried no one would believe you. But as you spoke, as you let the story spill out, you felt lighter, less alone. You discovered that everyone carries their own ghosts, their own stories of things they can't explain. Some are haunted by loss, by regret, by the ache of things left unsaid. Others are haunted by hope, by longing, by the desire to find meaning in the mysteries of life. And as you listen to their stories, you realize that fear is not something to be ashamed of. It's something to be shared, to be spoken aloud, to be woven into the fabric of who you are. Because when you share your fear, it loses its power. It becomes just another part of your story, a chapter, not the whole book. You think about all the nights you spent searching for answers, scouring the internet for stories like yours, hoping to find someone who understood. You remember the comfort of knowing you weren't alone, the relief of finding words for what you felt. Now, you offer that same comfort to others, a listening ear, a gentle word, a reminder that it's okay to be afraid. You find yourself drawn to the quiet, to the spaces between words, to the moments when the world seems to pause and listen. You realize that the haunting has changed you, not just in the way you see the world, but in the way you move through it, the way you hold space for others, the way you honor your own fears. You have become softer, more patient, more willing to sit with uncertainty. You have learned that not every question needs an answer, that sometimes it's enough just to ask, to wonder, to let the mystery be. You remember the spirit, the way it lingered at the edge of your dreams, the way it seemed to be searching for something, for peace, for understanding, for a way home. You hope it found what it was looking for. You hope that, wherever it is, it knows it was seen, that its story mattered, and you hope the same for yourself, that your story matters, that your fears are heard, that your journey through the darkness has meaning. You lie there, wrapped in the quiet, feeling the gentle weight of the night, the softness of the sheets, the warmth of your partner beside you. You let your thoughts drift, untethered, floating on the edge of sleep. You think about all the stories you've carried, all the fears you've faced, all the nights you've survived. You realize that you are stronger than you ever knew, that you are braver than you ever believed, that you are more than your fears. And as you close your eyes, letting the darkness wash over you, you whisper a silent promise to yourself, to the spirit, to anyone who might be listening. I will keep going. I will keep telling my story. I will keep searching for the light, no matter how dark the night may seem, because in the end, that's all any of us can do. Face the darkness, tell our stories, and find our way home. Sleep now, and let the story carry you gently into the morning. The deepest hours of the night are here now, that mysterious time when the world feels suspended, when even your thoughts seem to move more slowly, as if they too are wrapped in the hush of darkness. You lie there, half awake, letting your mind wander through the rooms of your memory. You revisit the nights when fear was a living thing, when every creak and sigh of the house set your nerves on edge. You remember the way you'd lie perfectly still, listening for sounds that shouldn't be there, watching the shadows for movement. But now, the fear has softened. It's become something you can hold, something you can study, something you can even find a strange comfort in. You realize that the house has its own rhythm, its own language, the gentle pop of the radiator, the distant hum of the refrigerator, the wind brushing against the windows. You know these sounds now, can tell them apart from the things your mind once conjured in the dark. You think about the word niche, how every haunting, every story finds its own little corner in your life. Some stories settle deep, becoming part of who you are. Others drift away, leaving only the faintest trace. This story, your story, has carved out its own niche. It's become a quiet companion, a reminder of what you've faced and how you've changed. You remember the first time you felt safe again, the first night you slept without waking, the first morning you woke to sunlight instead of shadows. It was subtle, almost unnoticeable, like the way winter slowly gives way to spring. You started to reclaim your space, to make the house your own again. You rearranged the furniture, painted the walls, filled the rooms with laughter and light. You learned to celebrate the ordinary, the smell of coffee in the morning, the sound of your partner's footsteps in the hallway, the way the cat curls up at your feet. You realized that peace isn't something that arrives all at once. It comes in small moments, in quiet victories, in the slow, steady return of trust. And yet, there are still nights when you wake at 3:47 a.m., your heart beating just a little faster, your mind reaching back to those strange, haunted hours. But now, you greet those moments with curiosity, not fear. You remind yourself that you are safe, that the story has changed, that the darkness holds no power over you. You've learned to talk to the night, to whisper your fears into the darkness, to let them drift away like smoke. You've learned to listen, too, to the quiet wisdom of the house, to the gentle reassurance of your own heartbeat, to the soft, steady breathing of the one you love. You realize that you are not the same person you were before. You are stronger, more resilient, more open to the mysteries of life. You have found your niche, your place in the world, your way of being at peace with the unknown. And as you lie there, wrapped in the warmth of the night, you feel a deep sense of gratitude for the story, for the fear, for the way you have grown. You know that the night will end, that morning will come, that the world will wake and fill with light. But for now, you let yourself rest, let yourself dream, let yourself be carried by the gentle rhythm of the story. The darkness is no longer something to fear. It is a place of rest, of healing, of quiet transformation. Sleep well and let the story keep you safe until the first light of dawn. The hours just before dawn are the most mysterious, a liminal space where dreams and reality blur, where the world feels both impossibly vast and intimately close. You lie in that space now, halfway between sleep and waking, your mind drifting through shadows and memories. You think about how every haunting leaves a mark, not just on the house, but on the people who live there. You remember the way you used to tiptoe through the dark, afraid to disturb whatever might be lurking just out of sight. You remember the rituals you created, the way you'd check the locks, the way you'd whisper goodnight to the empty room, the way you'd reach for your partner's hand in the darkness. Those rituals became a kind of comfort, a way to reclaim control, to remind yourself that you were not powerless, that you could shape your own experience, even in the face of the unknown. Now, those rituals have changed. You no longer check the locks out of fear, but out of habit. You no longer whisper to the empty room, but to yourself, a gentle reminder that you are safe, that you are home. You realize that healing is not a straight line, that some nights are easier than others, that some fears take longer to fade. But you also realize that you are healing, that every night spent in peace is a victory, that every morning filled with sunlight is a gift. You think about the niche this story has carved in your life, how it has shaped you, how it has changed the way you see the world. You find yourself more open now, more willing to listen, more willing to believe in things you can't explain. You've learned that everyone has their own niche, their own stories, their own hauntings. You've learned to honor those stories, to hold space for them, to let them exist without judgment or fear. You remember the people who helped you, the priest with trembling hands, the strangers on the internet who shared their own stories, the partner who held you through the worst of it. You realize that you are not alone, that you have never been alone, that there is a whole world of people who understand what it means to be haunted. You think about the spirit that visited you, the way it lingered at the foot of your bed, the way it seemed lost, confused, searching for something it couldn't name. You wonder if it found peace, if it found its way home. You hope so. You hope that, wherever it is, it knows it was seen, that its story mattered, that it left a mark on your life. You realize that the scariest stories are not always about monsters or evil. Sometimes they are about longing, about loss, about the desire to be remembered. You let that thought settle over you, soft and gentle, like the first light of morning. You realize that you are ready to let go, not of the story, but of the fear. You are ready to move forward, to create new memories, to fill your home with laughter and light. You know that the night will come again, that there will be moments when the fear returns, when the shadows seem a little too deep, when the silence feels heavy. But you also know that you are stronger now, that you have faced the darkness and found your way back to the light. You close your eyes, feeling the warmth of your partner beside you, the softness of the blankets, the gentle rise and fall of your own breath. You let yourself drift, carried by the rhythm of the story, by the promise of a new day. And as the first rays of sunlight slip through the window, you smile, knowing that you are home, that you are safe, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Sleep now, and let the story rest with you until you are ready to wake. The first light of morning creeps softly across the room, painting gentle gold on the walls, chasing away the last shadows of the night. You stir, eyes still heavy with sleep, and for a moment, you linger in that in-between place, not quite awake, not quite dreaming, where the story is still close, where the night's mysteries feel almost real. You stretch, feeling the comfort of your bed, the warmth of the room, the steady presence of your partner beside you. There's a sense of relief in the daylight, a quiet joy in knowing that you've made it through another night, that the darkness has once again given way to light. You think about how different the house feels in the morning, how the rooms seem brighter, how the air feels fresher, how the silence is no longer heavy, but peaceful. You move through the house, opening curtains, letting the sun spill in, filling every corner with light. You realize that the story of your haunting, the story that once filled you with dread, has become a part of your morning routine, a memory that lingers, but no longer holds power over you. You find yourself smiling at the small things, the way the cat stretches in a patch of sunlight, the way your partner hums softly as she makes coffee, the way the house seems to sigh with contentment. You think about how fear can change, how it can shrink in the face of love, how it can be transformed by understanding, how it can become just another thread in the fabric of your life. You remember the rituals you created to keep the darkness at bay, and you realize that you've created new rituals now, rituals of comfort, of connection, of gratitude. You light a candle at breakfast, not to ward off spirits, but to celebrate the new day. You write in your journal, not to document your fears, but to record your hopes, your dreams, the things that bring you joy. You reach out to friends, to family, to the people who helped you through the darkest nights. You share your story, not as a warning, but as a testament to resilience, to the power of compassion, to the way even the scariest experiences can lead to growth. You realize that your niche in this story, the place you've carved out for yourself, is one of hope, of healing, of transformation. You know that the memory of the haunting will never fully disappear, that there will always be nights when the old fears return, when the shadows seem to gather at the edges of the room. But you also know that you have the tools to face those moments, the rituals, the memories, the knowledge that you are not alone. You have learned to trust yourself, to trust the process of healing, to trust that the light will always return. You look at your partner, her eyes bright in the morning sun, and you feel a surge of gratitude for her strength, for her love, for the way you have both come through the darkness together. You realize that this too is part of the story, the aftermath, the rebuilding, the quiet, everyday moments that make up a life. You know that you will carry the story with you, that it will shape who you are, that it will remind you to cherish the light, to savor the peace, to hold on to hope. And as you step into the day, leaving the shadows behind, you do so with a sense of purpose, a sense of possibility, a sense that anything is possible. Because you have faced the darkness, and you have found your way home. You are safe, you are loved, you are exactly where you are meant to be. Let the morning light fill you. Let the story rest. Let yourself begin again. The day unfolds slowly, soft and unhurried, as if the world itself is taking a deep breath after a long, restless night. You move through your home with new eyes, noticing the way the light shifts across the floor, the way the air feels gentle and alive, the way every sound is familiar, comforting. You realize that the story has changed you, subtly, quietly. You're more attuned to the small joys, the warmth of a mug in your hands, the laughter that bubbles up between you and your partner, the way the house seems to welcome you, as if it, too, is grateful for the peace that's settled in. You think about the journey you've taken, from fear to understanding, from sleepless nights to restful mornings, from feeling haunted to feeling whole. You remember how it felt to be afraid, how the darkness seemed endless, how every shadow was a threat, every sound a warning. But now, those memories are just that, memories. They no longer hold you captive. They no longer dictate how you move through your days. Instead, you've woven them into the story of your life, not as the main thread, but as a single, shimmering strand in a much larger tapestry. You find yourself drawn to the things that bring you comfort, the rituals you've created, the people who ground you, the spaces that feel safe. You light a candle in the evening, not out of fear, but as a way to honor the day, to mark the transition from light to dark, to remind yourself that you are in control. You cook dinner with your partner, the two of you moving easily around each other, sharing stories, sharing laughter, sharing the quiet contentment that comes from knowing you are safe, that you are together. You realize that the house itself seems to breathe easier now. The creaks and sighs are just the sounds of a home settling. The shadows are just shadows. The night is just night. You think about the niche, the haunting carved in your life, how it once felt like a wound, raw and aching, but now feels like a place of strength, a place where you learned what you are capable of, a place where you discovered the depth of your own resilience. You remember the spirit that visited you, the way it lingered at the edge of your dreams, the way it seemed lost, searching. You hope that it, too, has found peace, that it has found its way home. You know that not every story has a tidy ending, that some mysteries remain unsolved, that some questions linger. But you are okay with that now. You have learned to live with uncertainty, to find beauty in the unknown, to trust that you will be okay, no matter what comes. As night falls again, you prepare for sleep with a sense of calm. You settle into bed, pulling the blankets up, feeling the familiar weight, the familiar warmth. You listen to the quiet, to the gentle breathing of your partner, to the soft sounds of the house around you. You know that the darkness holds no fear for you now, that you have faced what haunted you, that you have come through stronger, braver, more at peace. You close your eyes, letting the story fade into the background, letting sleep come easily, welcoming the dreams that wait for you. And as you drift off, you carry with you the knowledge that you are safe, that you are loved, that you are home. Sleep well and let the story rest with you, gentle and kind, until the morning comes again. Night returns, soft and deep, wrapping the house in a gentle hush. You find yourself at peace with the darkness now, no longer searching for threats in every shadow, no longer dreading the quiet hours between midnight and dawn. Instead, you welcome the calm, the way the world slows down, the way your thoughts soften and settle. You lie in bed, listening to the familiar sounds, the hum of the heater, the distant bark of a dog, the faint rustle of wind against the window. You realize how much has changed. Not so long ago, these same sounds would have set your nerves on edge, would have sent your mind racing with fear and uncertainty. Now, they are simply part of the night, ordinary, comforting, safe. You think about the journey you've taken, how you moved from fear to acceptance, from sleeplessness to rest, from feeling haunted to feeling whole. You remember the rituals that once kept you safe, the camera at the foot of the bed, the whispered prayers, the careful checking of every lock and window. Those rituals have faded now, replaced by new ones. A cup of tea before bed, a quiet conversation with your partner, a moment of gratitude for the peace you found. You understand that the haunting was never just about the spirit, or the cold spot at the foot of the bed, or the dreams that left you gasping in the dark. It was about learning to face what scared you, about finding strength in vulnerability, about discovering the power of compassion. You remember the priest's words, the way he spoke of spirits as lost, not evil, as souls searching for home, just like you. You think about the niche this experience has carved in your life, a place where fear and hope coexist, where darkness and light are woven together, where you have learned to hold space for both. You realize that everyone has a niche like this, a place where their deepest fears and greatest strengths meet, where they are tested and transformed. You find comfort in this knowledge, in the understanding that you are not alone, that your story is part of something larger, something universal. You close your eyes, feeling the gentle weight of the blankets, the steady presence of your partner beside you. You let your breath slow, let your thoughts drift, let yourself be carried by the rhythm of the night. You know that the darkness holds no power over you now, that you have faced it, understood it, made peace with it. You feel gratitude for the journey, for the lessons learned, for the healing that has taken place. As sleep begins to claim you, you whisper a silent thank you to the spirit that once haunted you, to the people who helped you, to yourself for being brave enough to keep going. You drift into dreams, soft and safe, knowing that you are home, that you are whole, that you are exactly where you are meant to be. Let the night hold you. Let the story rest. Let yourself sleep in peace.